Welcome everybody to the April 2024 technical training meeting. You can go to the next slide, Kyia. So this is our agenda for today. If any of you are going to any of the two conferences coming up, I'm sure the one in April is not taking any further admission, but if you're going, have fun in Minneapolis. And there's the Energy Out West conference is coming up in August in Austin, Texas. Turner, do you know if they're still admitting people for that one?
Yeah, registration for that one's still open. I know their hotels are filling up, but it is still open.
If y'all go to that one, have fun in Austin in August. I'm sure it's pleasant down there. And then we also have our what we're affectionately calling our Great Reunion Spring Training Conference here in June on the 4th and 5th coming up. Any questions on any of those from anybody?
Are we going to get family reunion t-shirts?
Maybe. We're definitely getting family photos, so come prepared.
If you want to bring t-shirts for all your agency to match, that's you can have an awkward family photo.
Everybody bring plaid.
Yeah, they'll be awkward anyway.
Yeah, we need really good photos for our wall. We need to update them.
I say we wear Christmas pajamas.
Christmas pajamas in June. Nice. That's a good idea.
And everybody can hold you in their arms. Was that Zach that said that? Christmas
Yeah. We'll just keep like moving Zach around. You know, let him crowd surf us.
If there's not anything else to add to that, Kyia, yes, thank you. So, recently during one of our monitorings, I realized that our calculator, though this is a rare occasion, our ASHRAE calculator was not capable of illustrating two kitchens in a house. So I have recently made some slight changes to the calculator, mainly on step 3, the local exhaust deficit. You now have an option to have 1 or 2 kitchens assigned to a house. And that will make a difference on how much ventilation is required at a house. So if you have 2 kitchens, and the definition of a kitchen that ASHRAE uses is any room that has a major cooking appliance. So if it has a working oven and stove in that room, then you can count that as a kitchen.
Working is a key word there.
Working. Not being stored in a room.
Do you have to count it as a kitchen?
Is it? That's a good question. Should you count it as a kitchen? If it's being regularly used, I would say yes.
I feel like that is a good rule of thumb. I've been in a few homes where they have that basement kitchen that you can tell never ever gets used. The whole purpose of ASHRAE, the whole purpose of the local exhaust ventilation in a kitchen is to move bulk moisture. So my recommendation is if you make that determination that the kitchen's never being used, you should note that somewhere. Otherwise, you should be counting it as a kitchen. Anybody have any other thoughts or concerns about that?
I know this is a very rare occurrence where you've got two kitchens in a house, but I think it's more easily demonstrated now with the calculator able to do this. So when you do run into those situations, don't forget to have two kitchens on your calculation. All right, we're going to get to our main topics now. And to start off with, our main topics today is audit photos. We will be briefly talking about in progress and closeout photos as well, but the main topic is going to be audit photos. And to start us off, we're going to do another Kahoot game. So Kyia is going to take us into that.
So what you'll want to do is, again, go to https://kahoot.it// to join. So I have my Kahoot up right here. So this, you'll use this game pin, and you can also scan the screen with the QR code if you need it. Now that the sun's finally out and it hasn't been in several days, I'm tired. What is that? I'll wait for a few more of you to join, because we got about 24 on the call, so I'll wait until at least 20 unless I see a whole bunch of people joining. You join, Makara?
Yep. You're going to have to guess who I am.
Are you the one that likes minivans?
That would be a sick prank.
All right, you got like 10 more seconds to join. Yeah, I don't think anybody else is going to join. All right, you have a few more seconds to change your person. Okay, then we're moving on. All right, so this is an audit photos quiz. These are all exterior features that should be photographed during the audit, except the underside of a cantilever is red, evaporative cooler is yellow, blue is the gable attic access, and green is red transam in the back shed. Nice. Yeah, we don't, we want to take photos of all those things, but that's not the point of, is taking photos of vehicles and personal items and all that stuff. So here's just some guidelines on what is required. Nice. Why are the cupboards open in this picture? Red is no reason, that was to show that was how the cupboard was found. Yellow is shows that the client's cupboards are empty. Blue to show that the exhaust fan is not vented to the exterior, and green is to show that the microwave runs on electricity. There's one person that's not answering, so we're gonna have to wait till the time's out. Good. Everything, everybody already knows what they need to do, but that's a great way to show that the like whether something is vented or not to the outside for ASHRAE. So that would be considered part of the ASHRAE photo requirement. What weatherization information cannot be found in this photo? A vapor barrier is needed where the thermal boundary is established in the crawl space. Insulation type, floor insulation depth, and joist size. Good job to most of you. That does not show the floor insulation depth and joist size. So you would need to add a measuring tape or something in that photo if you were trying to show that in the photo. Next. Looking good. Somebody needs to knock Justin's Vanco down, okay? I don't want to see that as number one. What information must be included in the audit photo description of these 4 photos? Cladding type explained, number of windows per side, color of house, orientation and / cardinal directions. Nice. Good job. Most of you got that right. That's what was missing. All right, who's winning? Man, why is everybody up for minivans these days? Minivantastic. Justin's Vanco. All right, who wants to claim it? Jonathan, nice job. That's a good one. Who's Minivan Attack? We already know who Matt Dillon is. Nice. All right, well, thanks for playing. Kick it back to you, Rogers.
All right. Will you go to, yep, perfect. So this is the language directly from the guidelines on audit photos. These are the items / areas that are required to be photo documented in all client files. So when we are monitoring, these are the 14 items that we're looking for in our monitoring. The scoring up until this year, so starting next year, the scoring for this monitoring item is going to change. The audit photos will be scored as an error rate out of these 14 required items that need to be in your client file, rather than just an all or nothing, which is what we have been doing. Is that making sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So in the future, your scores are going to look a lot better than what they have in the past. For example, if we monitored 6 jobs at your agency and 3 of them were missing at least one required audit photo, you would have a 50% on that in the past. But in the future, it's just going to be how many photos out of 14 on each job. So your error rate is going to be a lot lower than an all or nothing. Any questions on that? Any questions on any of these guidelines? This is obviously B94C. If any of you want to look up exactly where this is in our state guidelines. No questions on that? We can move on, Kyia. So a further explanation, to give a further explanation, photos that are in your client files, they should be large and clear enough to see for anybody that's looking at them after the fact. When we come and monitor and we look at your audit photos, not all the time, but oftentimes the context is hard to see because it's zoomed out or the background is poorly lit or things of that nature. Context should be added to all the photos that require additional explanation to a person not familiar with the project. So that would be us, for example. When we are coming in to monitor after the fact, we don't necessarily know what the house looked like before weatherization was completed on the house. So we need to see some explanation on your photos.
Well, and this can also really help the field crew and the QCI know like what you're talking about and installing in the correct place. So if you're not going to be taking great photos, then you're going to be getting a lot of calls, or maybe there's a potential that the crew isn't able to install in the correct places that you're requesting them. So audit photos can be really important to have context in that way as well.
Yes, thank you. And last but not least, photos should be organized into a report, preferably in a PDF format. It's very difficult and tedious, not just for us, but also like Kyia just said, your field crew. If the audit photos they're looking at are individual pictures and they have to sift through each one, if it's all your photos are in a single PDF file, it's a lot easier to look through.
Yeah, and organized. So like if you have all of the venting for that specific appliance that you're taking photo of, it's probably smart to have them all in a line with each other so that they don't have to try to go all the way through the whole PDF to make sure they didn't miss anything. That includes us, but definitely your field crew and QCI.
Any questions on anything so far? No. Good.
Here's a comment for you.
Oh, I didn't see.
It's really easy to go when you have your picture up. If you're not zoomed in enough, you can adjust it afterwards and zoom in on it and save it, or adjust the light if it's too dark and lighten it up a little bit. Adjusting photos on your computer is pretty quick and easy to do.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. I agree.
So we're going to go through these different areas or items that are required photos. Here's a group of exterior photos. So out of these 4, can anyone tell me what is missing? This is going to be an interactive technical meeting, so I need answers from somebody.
And if you don't want to speak up, you can always write it in the chat and we can read it instead.
I noticed on the south side of the photo, you can't see the foundation, maybe?
That's perfect, yeah. We can't see the full south side of the house here. There may be some other features that are not visible, like windows or exhaust terminations, things of that nature. Does everybody see that?
I do now that it's pointed out in front of me.
Any questions on anything there?
No, that makes sense.
All right. So for our thermal boundary, what additional photos will be needed for this house? If this is the picture we've got of the south side of the home, what do we see there?
Jonathan made a comment. He said interior of the garage, and that is correct.
Yeah. Why do we need to see the interior of the garage, Jonathan?
The garage isn't part of the thermal boundary, is what he
Yeah.
wrote.
In other words, I think what it's trying to say is we need to see where our thermal boundary is completed. So we need to see that wall that's separating our living space from our garage. Which would be this second photo. Anybody want to add or expound on that?
Something else to note that we'd probably like to see more in audit photos is labeled parts. Like if you're taking a photo of inside an attic or a foundation, if you could just explain more like, oh, we're looking at the south side of the attic, or this is above this area in the house, especially if there's attic missing. Or like if there's insulation missing. That way it's clear for the field crew of where they need to insulate, and you can set that right on the work order with arrows and whatnot. Or it can also be really helpful to us of like, oh, that was the pre-photo of that, and we can see that there is actually a difference there between audit and closeout. So
Are there any other types of situations similar to a garage that we might need to take photos like this?
Maybe like a duplex.
A duplex? What do you mean by that?
I'm assuming you'd want to show the interior wall where you're establishing the air boundary between one duplex to the other.
So you're saying there's a garage between the two sides?
no,
Yeah.
he's talking about the actual marriage wall too. Oh, well, I guess you could also
Well,
talk
either is
either
fair.
or.
Mhm.
like the
What-
firewall.
What about, I don't know how often anybody runs into enclosed porches or sunrooms, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we're taking pictures in order to clearly identify our thermal boundary of our house.
Can I make a comment about one of these photos?
Yes.
So does anybody have any suggested improvements on the bottom photo on this slide?
Corner to corner.
What do you mean?
You're not getting the entire wall in the picture. So we want to be able to identify where the walls end on both sides if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Since it's an exterior side, if you can get some daylight on both sides so that you can see that you didn't miss a photo of a window or something else on that wall that's part of that thermal boundary. Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah. Also
Some-
that.
Yeah,
Oh.
something else to note also is that like if you're taking photos of the thermal and pressure boundary, like if you're going to be measuring insulation, it might be worth at least having one photo showing that you measured the insulation of that wall or the depth of the wall. Just it might be helpful to confirm that like, hey, I did check all of these walls. Or even if you have an infrared camera, at least having a photo of like that, that would also be helpful to just see that you did a thorough inspection of that.
That should be one of the required photos that you have in your client file. So you want to make sure with your thermal boundary, you're taking a photo of the insulation depth or lack of insulation in the attic, walls, foundations, floors, and bellies. That is item number 10 if you're going to go back to the guidelines B94C. Does anybody want to add anything else? So we're going anyway. All right, our heating and cooling system. What? These two pictures are the same duct, but what is missing?
Return or supply.
Anything else?
Lovely duct insulation.
What else? No mastic. Yeah, you could say that. Thank you, Jonathan. Just, what is it connected to? Are you referring to supplier return? Okay. Yeah, so just basically location and condition of the duct would be useful information, as well as
Context.
there's no notes on these pictures, as well as clarifying whether or not this is a supplier or return. So what notes could we add to this to be more clear about what these are? Or rather, an example, Kyia, if you want to click again, it should pop up. Would anybody feel any objection to those notes? Is that clear enough of what's going on here?
Wouldn't I mean, I don't mean to. Couldn't you tell that it's in a crawl space, and do we have to put uninsulated ducts on there?
Again, you need to put yourself in the mindset of somebody that hasn't been to that job or that's not familiar with it. Yes, you can probably easily tell anybody on this meeting, well, this looks like it's in a crawl space. Obviously, it's uninsulated, but
I think some more places that you could clarify is if there's more than one crawl space. You could say this is on crawl space 1 and actually use your own like field sketch terminology to better identify what is this. And then another thing that you could do is you could add directions of like, this is where we want to insulate, or we are evaluating to insulate this one. This is duct X or Y or whatever. So it's just, I would say that these aren't specific enough. If you are looking in the context of like, why are we showing some of these photos other than that they're required? Like, let's use them to say, hey, this is in crawl space 1 or foundation 1. Things like that. So
Anthony left a good comment for us. Always explain as though you're talking to a new person that just started working. Make your explanation simple enough that anybody, even if they just started, they can understand what's going on. Anybody else want to add anything to this one? Okay. So here we have some pictures of a water heater. What part of the water heater is missing from this set of photos?
Where it vents out the top of the roof. Our nameplate, actually, yeah. Somebody just commented that.
Jonathan says he can't read the nameplate. Yeah, sorry, that's probably just how I had to adjust the picture to fit on the slide. But yeah, Waldo, you're correct. You can't see what's going on with the venting above the frame of the door. What if that venting is disconnected at a seam somewhere? Or another issue that we see often is clearance issues. What if there's something else that's going on where you've got pipe insulation or something else that's a combustible within an inch of that single wall vent?
or what if there's even like a roof leak too? And or what if that's a major connection? What if there's like a hole in the top of there that's going directly into a bedroom? Or like, because this is kind of supposed to be hopefully more isolated from the rest of the mobile home. But if there's just a big bypass because of a hole, then you'd want to take a photo of that.
Yeah, my thought was that maybe like if like a china cap or something was missing off the top and it failed worst case or something, that could be something you could possibly make note of, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Other photos you could do in here too is like if there's signs of backdrafting or flame rollout, or like the earthquake straps aren't actually very secure, because sometimes like that one only has one in that photo. But sometimes the screws look like they're about to fall out.
Anything else that we could add to this set of photos for the water heater?
You could also do the roof penetration from the shingle side, not just from the interior looking up, but from the roof as well. Closet door condition too. That's a good one.
Yeah. What does it look like with the closet door closed?
Yeah, orientation of where this is on the house would also be helpful context.
Yeah. To touch back on Kai's point though, we need a picture of the entire venting system. So not just where it's going up from the water heater, but also where it terminates on the roof. That's part of the venting system. Okay. Combustion air. Yeah, that could be included with the door, or anything that's going on the floor if there's any vents cut into the floor. Moving on to ASHRAE ventilation. Is anything missing from this set of bathroom photos? And what labeling context could go with these photos in this bathroom? Let's answer the first question. What's missing?
A fan.
Anything else? Jonathan, I like your answer. Seeing what the switches in the bathroom look like, as well as the other wall. We're missing a wall. We don't know if there's a window in this bathroom. And then what labeling context could go with these photos?
If it's a multi-bathroom home, then you would need to label which bathroom it is.
Which bathroom it is? Anything else? Yeah, details about the fan. So, Kai, if you click again, we'll get some context on this bathroom. We can see the bathroom, or rather, the bathroom doesn't have a window or an exhaust fan. The grill on the ceiling is just an open hole into the attic, not an HVAC register. And then,
We got great comments. Everybody's doing a good job.
we could take a CFM reading and put that in our comments as well. But in this case, this hole that we can see, or rather this grill, is just an open hole right into the attic. It's not connected to the HVAC system. It's not an exhaust fan. So our notes there clarify that if we need an exhaust fan, we could use that spot. Otherwise, that hole needs to be sealed. Anybody else want to add anything to that one?
I also wanted to add, like, why is it that we want to see the switch in that photo, especially if there's a fan that's needed?
Explaining there's power existing already.
Yeah, like where are you going to run that power for that fan, or what's going to be your mechanism for using that fan, whether it's going to be a switched one, or is it going to be a sensor, a motion sensor, things like that. And this would be great to pair with photos from the attic. Like, make sure to call it out in the attic. Like, when you're taking that first look, make sure to go look for this in the attic, like where all those things are. So
this is a great example. Kurt asked earlier, a question which was kind of like, how often do we have to make comments about photos, or do we really have to add all these details? I've always felt if you'll get in the practice of going through every one of your photos and adding details, then when you get to this photo where it's obviously not a picture of a bath fan, there's something unique going on in this house that would be important for you to document. This is why. This is why we add notes to our photos, because that kind of stuff's really helpful.
Yeah, in this particular case, this is a job we monitored. This photo did not have any notes on it. So we had to see what this was when we got there. Not that any work order or anything like that wouldn't have had notes, but clarification for your field crew mainly on this one would be hugely beneficial. Anybody want to add anything else? I guess not. Kai is zooming this along. So some other energy consumers, anything wrong with these two pictures? Anybody, somebody?
I don't ever take pictures of bathroom faucets.
What's that? Sorry, Kurt.
I don't ever take pictures of bathroom faucets. I don't.
You don't?
No. I take pictures of shower heads.
Okay. What if the faucet doesn't have an aerator on it at all?
I don't know that there's any way that I knew of that the audit does the aerators. Or do you just name it?
Wouldn't that be a condition, though, that you'd want to take a picture of? As justification for adding a faucet aerator?
You could, yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell where the dryer is exhausting to. Good, Jonathan. Or even if it's properly hooked up to the back of the dryer. The lighting in that one is pretty terrible. You can't really see anything. And then, yeah, the kitchen, or excuse me, the bathroom sink. We can't see I'm assuming they're taking a picture for an aerator, but you can't even see the aerator because it's a top view and it's far enough out you can't see if there's an aerator or not.
Yeah, to quote Jonathan, it's just a sink.
It's just a sink.
That's all that photo is just a sink. What's the context here?
Anybody else have anything to add? No? Okay. And next, we're looking at some health and safety and itemized measures. What is missing from these photos? Again, this was at a job that we monitored, and this is exactly how the photos appeared in the audit file.
Well, it's knob and tube wiring, and they're explaining that it has power to it.
Okay. But what's missing?
Label. They missed the label.
There is no labeling or context on either one of these. In addition, the top photo is kind of difficult to tell what they're taking a picture of. Obviously, there's some stuff going on there, but
Yeah.
What was that?
I think the other thing, that top photo looks like they're taking a picture around the chimney.
Yeah, there's many possible things going on there, including the chimney. There's also appears that there could be some wiring issues going on in that photo, but it's hard to tell from this far out.
Well, and I'd be curious, like, what this is up here. Like, is
Also,
that like a bypass or something? Like, what is that?
the other thing that's possible is one of these two lines that's kind of in the bottom corner. It's hard to tell. One of those might be a swamp cooler line that's just laying down on the floor.
You talking about that blue one?
Either the blue one or the other one that's kind of curved from the middle of the photo down to the bottom right corner.
Looks like the blue one's a internet wire to me. Cat 5 wire.
Yeah. But if one of them was a swamp cooler line, we'd probably want to label that and let our crew know, hey, be aware of this. Don't step on it. I don't want you breaking a water line in the attic. And then obviously, we already pointed out the bottom photo, we're taking a picture of wiring, but label it. Why are you taking the picture?
Well, and is there more than one attic? Like where,
Yeah.
maybe where, put some context of like where,
Yep.
where this is. Cause maybe there's knob and tube in one part of the attic, but there's not knob and tube in another. And that can affect like your bid. It can affect whether or not you can insulate certain areas and whatnot. So
Well, nowadays we use readiness funds to get rid of that stuff. So
not on every job. You can still use knob and tube mitigation on some IRMs and things like that. So
Anybody else have any thoughts on these two pictures? Anything else they would add?
depth of insulation type.
Yeah, there were other pictures in this client's file that showed that, but specifically for health and safety or an itemized measure. Is there anything else specific to that you would add as far as context?
I think one area could also be like areas that you did detect lead would be good to show where you did your lead photos or your lead testing on a house. Might be worth snapping a photo while you do that. Just as you should with your reports of aligning where is it that you're testing for lead in a house.
Also, if you're testing something and you're trying to show a result,
Mm-hmm.
you want to comment what the result is due to, different equipment giving you different results in different ways. For example, the electrical tester there is showing a green light, but some of them show a red light or whatever. So you might have somebody might not understand what result you're getting from that.
Yeah, that's where the labeling and the context comes in, where you would label this photo testing knob and tube for live and tested, or just knob and tube tested live in the attic, A1 or whatever attic you're in. Thanks, Chris.
Other photos you might do when it comes to like itemized measures or IRMs or anything is if you have a potential for insulating in an attic and you have a roof leak, definitely want to take a photo of that. That because this photos justify measures sometimes. They can be used to justify measures. So if photos can be really important. And also helpful for your client because sometimes they're not going to go up there and it's nice to actually show them a photo being like, hey, this is the problem. And you can show them what that problem is via photo.
Anything further on this slide? Nope. All right.
All right, so I wanted to show an example of a potential tool that you all could use that's free There is a free version of this. You just have to make sure to scroll past some of the screens that want you to pay for it. It's just one of those things. I have a little video showing like how this works. It's really helpful. This is how MAG does their photos, and it makes it a lot easier. I messed with it yesterday and created my own photo sheet. Like if you're feeling like it's a lot of work to put together your photos and that PDF file, this is one that might be really helpful that you can use on your phone. This is an Apple product, so if you have an Apple, then you can definitely use this. I believe there are other products out there that you can pay for that does this same thing. But I can load all my photos in, and I can organize where the photos go, because this, when you organize it in here, then you can also delete it if you want, or rotate the photo. And this is how it will show up along in the PDF. And if you go back here, it'll actually show you different formats. So this is the format of how the photos will show up. And then I can create a forward sheet. So like this is like the front sheet of the PDF, so the cover page, and I can type in it and add my own logo and add a photo of the house, and fix all the things. And then I can go in and save it. So this part, I just press the X button. I don't have to pay for anything. I just press the X button and I can still save and move on. So you can just click Google Drive. It will pop up that window of if you save it. You can also do the name of the file, medium, small, and then it'll actually populate the file when you're done. So I will show you that finished product. And I think I have a download of it, so. This is that finished product, and it just did it for me. I didn't have to. And I can add, you can go in and click on the photos. I didn't show that in the recording, but you can go in before, because you can't add them after the fact. I mean, you could, but it makes it harder. So you actually use the app to add the context into the photos. You just select, like click on the photo and the sheet, and then you can add the context to each of the photos, and it'll lay it out in the order that you organized it before. And so I can actually write notes in there and like show all my photos, and it'll populate it for me in this PDF. The one thing you do want to note on that is that you can't email this to yourself because the email's too big. So wherever you're planning on saving it, that's why on that sheet it has a whole bunch of links to different places that you can save it. You can't really email it. It's too big of a file usually with photos. But you can print it. So if you're able to connect your phone to it or something like that, then you can do it that way. So I just wanted to show you this resource because this one is free. This is for Apple products. I'm not as familiar with Android, so you'd have to find one yourself on that one. But this might be an easy way for you to create a more painless way to create your photo sheets, unless you have a template, a PDF template you already use on your computer. And then this just kind of shows how that looks on one of those sheets. Another way that you can create a photo sheet is you can actually use Google Sheets. Or not Google Sheets. You can use Google Slides. Sorry, what?
Jonathan's got a comment for you.
Sometimes it doesn't send the file, so always double check it's in the drive before you delete all the work you did. Yes, correct. That's true. So you'll want to make sure you save that. Another way that you can create a file is you can use Google Slides, and that can print into a PDF. So you can put photos on each Google slide. And I can even show you that real quick because I can do it with this. if I can exit out. So when you go to print, I'll go download and I'll do PDF. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Excuse me. Sorry. Print. So now I have all these photos here, but I can also change the way that I print it. So when I go into print, I can change and I can put like poster or multiple where I can add more than one slide. And I could do 4 per sheet, and then it'll show me 4 per sheet the way I can print. So you can use like Google, you can do Microsoft PowerPoint as well to create that if that's another way. But I would say the one I was showing you is fairly easy because it's all in one place. You don't have to worry about downloading, uploading more. But I just wanted to show you how you can create a better, an easier way to create the file. Any questions on that? Comments, concerns? Any other tips? Things you found easy? If you need help at any point on how to use this, just give me a call or look it up on Google or YouTube. I'm sure they have videos. All right, your turn, Rogers.
We're a little bit fast. This is our last slide today, but as I mentioned, we're briefly discussed the in progress and QCI photos. These are also important. So your in progress, as the bullet point there says, take photos of all the work that is not easily accessible or that will be covered. That is direct guidance from the field guide. And then for our QCIs, your photos need to include an accounting for all the materials charged to the job, verification of all the measures installed in compliance with our program guidelines, how many photos are adequate for a single measure, as many as it takes to verify the measure is installed in compliance.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the measure. And if you add context, that can be helpful as well.
And just, I know, understood. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. As for the QCI, I've gotten questions from some of you. Yes, you can use the in progress photos from your field crew to show things that are not accessible anymore as a QCI. So for example, if we're installing an ASHRAE fan in a bathroom and all the ducting is run down on the floor and you're venting out a gable end and it's not visible anymore, your field crew should take a picture of that before they insulate on top of it. And your QCI can use that in their closeout photos, all work that do this. Proof is in the pudding. Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
Perf worked too.
That's how they talk in Utah County.
Yeah, just to say, to read what Anthony said, he said, all work that's done should have a photo with a description. Clients have a way of moving things and taking them down. Proof is in the pudding. And then eye roll. Because I said perf.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Ask. Add or ask. Turner, you got a little smirk on your face.
Just laughing at the interaction between Anthony and Kyia.
Do you guys want us to take pictures of the wattage on the light bulbs?
Are you talking about at the audit?
Yeah.
No, I
And
think
light bulbs? I mean, I know we it says to do light bulbs, but we kind of quit doing light bulbs as far as taking pictures of all of them.
If it's going to help you accurately input in your audit how many light bulbs you need and what size and wattage they are, do it. Like if they're, for example, sometimes I'll see on the audit that you'll account for, like, some people won't account for needing to put in can lights, and they, like, sometimes it's off, like the comparison is off of like what they replaced with versus what they. So if it's going to help you as the auditor, if you're not taking good notes, I would recommend taking a million pictures to that really explain themselves, or just take really good notes if you're having a hard time accurately inputting data in the audit. That's
But
my
you
answer.
still want us to take pictures of all the light bulbs? Maybe not the wattage, but the light bulbs?
Yeah, if it's going to help you, then go for it. But but it's not necessary
Okay.
for us.
Is it required?
Yeah, it's not necessary for us. But one or two or a few here and there, or something that will help your field crew. Like, hey, these are the light bulbs I want you to change. Because sometimes field crews will just go in and they see a light bulb and they'll change it, instead of being like, hey, that one they don't use, so you don't need to change it, kind of thing.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thanks.
Or take a picture of the fixture that you're intending to change the light bulbs in.
Yeah. But taking a photo of two different kinds of light bulbs that are in the house just to help you on your audit input, go for it. If there's a different wattage to them, do it. And just mark it on. And you could even put, so sometimes when we're monitoring, and maybe if you've watched some of our monitoring, we'll put like 3 in the air. In our photo, we'll be like, there's 3 of these kinds, so that we're giving notes to ourselves. Like, we have 3 light bulbs of this kind in that photo, that we can count when we're going through and checking your material list or something. You can do that sometimes, so I can get the orientation correct on the house, so I don't have to go back and Google the house or something. I will use sign language in my photo to be like, this is the east-facing house. You can do that kind of stuff to kind of show more example of like what it is that you're trying to take a photo of if you go back to audits and aren't able to input right away. So
I guess what I'm asking is if you document what light bulbs are on your A03 form, do we have to take pictures of the light bulbs? Is it required?
I would say it's probably good to at least have one photo of lighting in your thing, because what was that one? Rogers, am I on the right one? What's required via the guidelines?
The bulb specifically, I don't think that would be totally necessary, but probably the light fixture of where those bulbs need to be replaced.
Yeah. And like anything that has non-standard bulbs, like, so if you have a whole bunch of standard bulbs, a photo would suffice showing, hey, they have LEDs in the house, we don't need to replace it.
Okay.
I know you really want some clear answers from us, Kurt. That's as clear as I'm going to get.
I hope that doesn't change up what you're doing for the most part already, Kurt.
Well, I'll just be honest. I'm kind of, maybe it's just because I'm from Gunnison, but so as far as these pictures, I understand like labeling them, but as far as like, how much detail so we don't get, as far as like getting dinged on monitoring, because I hate, Turner and everybody knows I hate getting dinged.
You're a perfectionist, we get it.
Yes, but as far as like your detail on your pictures and stuff, like as far as wiring in attics and blue wires and stuff like that, if we just put like knob and tube tested, in attic 1, that's good. We don't have to label all the pictures. We don't have to. How much detail do you want us to put in pictures?
Provide detail of what the picture is of, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, for example, that one of the in the attic where the voltage tester is on the wire. If you put on that one, testing knob and tube to see if it's live, and it's live.
Yeah.
If that's what the picture's of, and you have other pictures in your client file explaining what the attic is, the depth of the insulation and all that stuff, you don't need to make the same label and context on every attic picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
so take
there's, like,
take the
different
normal
attics.
pictures that we got, that were required, but the extra pictures that you take, just describe it, and we don't have to take no more pictures or anything like that. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
And what you could also do, like if you have a group of photos, if there's more than one attic, you could then just, the only thing that you could do is context if there's context in all the rest of the other ones that you're doing. Like, because some photos, like you're like, this is just another view of the attic. You can just put attic 1, south view. Like, like just a little bit of context showing what's the purpose of you adding this photo into this, other than, like, or it's just, this is another photo of the attic kind of thing, So you don't have to take a whole bunch of extra photos if they're not helping you. It's just give us context is
I
the
probably
main
shouldn't say
argument.
I probably shouldn't say this, but take the only right amount of photos. Then if you take more photos, then you'd have to document more.
Sure. And we're not saying don't not put any in
Yeah,
there.
I
All it is-
understand. Yeah, I understand.
yeah.
The more photos you take, the more you have to explain.
Yeah. I mean, if you're adding them into your sheet, because you don't have to add all the photos. Like, I didn't add all of my photos that I took on that job because some of them just aren't going to be useful to anybody else's context other than me, because I'm the auditor and these are notes for me.
Yep.
I don't use all of the photos that I take on site when I'm putting it in a PDF. I'm putting in what the required photos are in the PDF, if that makes sense. And if you have more that are going to give you more context, great, add them. But I usually take some really specific photos for me that no one else would understand what they are unless I put context to it, because it's just for me as the auditor when I'm doing input. So you can take all the photos you want. It's just what ones are you putting in your file also that matter.
Kurt, I don't know if this will help answer your question, but if you're looking at these guidelines, 1 through 13 are fairly self-explanatory, yes. But it's that number 14, anything that should be evaluated or will be modified during weatherization. You also need to take pictures of that.
Yeah, I understand now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, concerns? Doesn't sound like it. In that case, everybody enjoy your Tuesday.